Oh, recording in progress. Jake's late, per the usual. Per the usual, Jake's late. So I'll read an excerpt from my mother's memoir. Greetings. I'm sailing south through the Tartar Strait, which separates north from South Sakhalin. I have no idea when this letter will reach you. I'm in good health, although from all sides I see the green eyes of cholera staring at me.
What are you reading? That's what?
It's my mother's memoir.
Oh.
Just kidding, it's not. I was wanting to talk to you since last week. Needless to say, we have a lot to talk about. So anyway,
Let's do it.
we'll talk about your trip later. It's no big deal. It was just, Iceland.
Like an ice island.
Right. So who cares? It's like,
Who cares?
we'll do our segment on that later.
What if we do an episode where I just do one of those like really long, boring slideshows and I talk about
I would actually never do the podcast again.
And then I'll show like all our friends that you don't know and talk all about them. And then do that thing where you try to remember something that no one cares about. And it's like, what does he say?
Yeah, and the person that's listening actually is like, "Oh my gosh, so cool.
Yeah. Or
Oh
like
my God, I love that."
you meet someone in a market and you're like, he was so funny. What was his name?
What was he saying? Babe, do you remember?
His name was it Mike? No, it wasn't Mike. Mike was my, and then it's always like goes into another story about like, oh, Mike was my cousin. That's right. He reminded me of my cousin, Mike.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
everyone's on the side of you with a porcupine, just like, ah.
And then it always gets to like, Mike went to college.
Oh my God. And
And
he took marine biology and he drowned.
yeah,
he
died. He's dead.
He died. Everyone's then traumatized as you scroll on to like your rest of your pictures.
Oh man.
Okay, but last week you were talking about books.
You were talking about books, but I wanted to know more about the book that you were reading or that Jeremy gave.
Yeah, so Jeremy has been reading a lot of different books from this genre lately, I feel like. And so he brought two books to the beach. He brought the one that he talked to us about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he brought this one, The Courage to Be Disliked. And it's the Japanese phenomenon that shows you how to change your life and achieve real happiness. So, I mean, here's the thing. I think if you are willing to like have an open mind and just read it as far as like just what it's offering is it's basically it's a conversation. So the whole book is in a dialogue form where it's basically like youth philosopher. So the whole book is just a conversation of two people speaking. Yeah. And so it says, is happiness something you choose for yourself? And it says that the courage to be disliked presents a simple and straightforward answer. Using the theories of Alfred Adler, one of the three giants of 19th century psychology, alongside Freud and Jung, this book follows an illuminating dialogue between a philosopher and a young man. So it's the course of 5 conversations where basically the young man is trying to ask him like different things about emotions, like how much do you let your emotions affect you? How much can you control your reactions to things because of things that have happened to you in the past? And not letting things that have happened to you in the past control your emotional reactions to things now, and how you'll be happier if you know how to let those things go and just like cycle through it and move through it. So I'm interested in it. I'm at a place called Anger Does Not Exist, which is near the beginning. And so it's kind of controversial because there's like also parts that are talking about trauma and how like you can deny trauma. Well, just to read that, you're going to be like, I'm not going to deny trauma. That's not healthy. I'm going to accept my traumas and I'm going to figure out how they affected me, and I'm not going to let them define me. But that's actually, in the end, how I kind of took it. Like when I first read the title, I was like, anger does not exist. That doesn't make sense. But as you're going through it, he's basically saying anger doesn't exist if you do A, B, C with your emotions. So, I don't know.
So is it kind of like a dealing with trauma type book, or dealing with your emotions in general?
I think it is. I don't know how much it is about like dealing with your trauma so much as it is dealing with you reacting to things and being like, well, I reacted to that in this way because I got mad. Like, oh, I went, I don't know. You have to read it. You just have to read it. I don't want to give my opinion too much. Okay. So I am on, okay, now I'm on the third night. Discard other people's tasks. And then it says, deny the desire for recognition, which I'm very interested to read
But,
that part.
but I love recognition.
That's what I mean. I'm like, I want recognition. I feel like affirmation is my love language. And so reading that, I was like, yeah, I think I'm good there. Don't think I need to read. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting because I also read, if we're really gonna get into this style of books, right? I also read the Burnout book, which is, they interview the two twin sisters that wrote that on the Brene Brown podcast. And I thought it was incredible. So I bought the book and I read it. And I feel like if everyone can read that book, it would like change your life on how to view like people pleasing and how to not be, to recognize burnout in your own body and how your body stores being stressed out and won't let it go unless you tell it to let it go. So there was a couple parts in that I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart. I feel like both of those books are pretty serious. They're pretty, like self-helpy, fix the trauma type books. But I don't feel like they have to be for people that have had severe trauma. I think they just can be for people that want to understand themselves a little bit better and have more self-awareness. That's all. But one point that I thought was really interesting in the Burnout book was that your body doesn't know the difference between real, actual things that are happening that could cause anxiety and things that aren't real. So, like, let's say you're doing a scenario in your mind and you're like, oh, I have this thing coming up next week. I'm going to be really stressed out. And then your brain goes, what if? Right? So it's like, well, what if this happens? But of course, you're thinking about like worst case scenario, like, because that's just what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But that's definitely what I do. So you start having anxiety about like, oh my gosh, or you have a conversation with someone coming up that's going to be like a difficult conversation. So you're like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to say? Like, what if da 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 da? Your body starts secreting like all the hormones that are stress hormones, whether it's real or not, whether it's happened or not. Your body is like, oh, wait a minute, we got to go into anxiety mode, fight or flight. And that was something I didn't realize. So now I try way harder to control my thoughts before I start just ruminating, role playing these horrible things that are happening. Like you hear an ambulance and I'm like, oh, someone got in a wreck. I wonder if it's someone I know. I better call everyone I know. Like, no.
Yeah.
And it was actually some old lady in her tree. Her cat was in the tree. But I'm over here like having an anxiety attack.
I think I do that every time I drive, create scenarios that are horrible.
Oh
That
my
way,
God, 100%. Like, what if a deer, because I've hit like 5 deer in my lifetime with a car. So it's like, what? So now every time I'm driving and it's dark, I'm like, look out for the deer. It could come through the windshield and the hooves could just start going, gah, gah, gah. Like, it's very gruesome what I think about.
so your body's reacting to that like that actually happened.
Yes, like as I'm driving, my grip is getting tighter. Now I'm envisioning this. your breast starts getting labored. It's like it's not even real. You're in McDonald's parking lot. You're fine.
You got some McNuggets, you're good.
I'm good. I'm dipping. I'm dipping. There's nothing happening, but the deer's hooves have went in my eye socket.
Yeah. And you see in the distance a deer.
Oh,
You-
completely just lose it.
Yeah.
Rip the nuggets out of the case, stuff them in my mouth. Last meal.
And then peel out.
Peel out of the McDonald's
Get
parking
out
lot.
of there.
Oh, gotta go.
Do you like the Malcolm Gladwell books? They're kind of
I don't think I've ever read one of them.
like
Should I?
they're
Let
not
me
so
look them up.
healthy, but they're more like different people's perspectives, and it just made me think of that because um
Let me look.
he'll do like he'll just kind of put you in someone else's shoes a little bit.
Oh,
So
okay.
self-help, but it is like, think of these different perspectives. But
Okay.
we talked last week about the blog, Pour Two, with the
Yes.
and on one of the Monday emails, Chelsea posted it's called Free Brian Williams. It's Malcolm Gladwell's podcast. It's from a few years ago,
Oh,
but
yes, about the memory.
when Brian Williams got like fired or lost his job because he remembered being in a chopper that was getting shot at or something, and then
What? No.
Brian Williams was on NBC and he was like super well respected, and then he told a story about being in a helicopter that was shot at or shot down or something like that. And then all
Uh-huh.
people were like, that didn't happen. He was like in a different helicopter that took off at a different time. And it was like he had, so to them, to like these certain people, it was just like he lied and made up a story where he was in more danger than he really was. But then Malcolm Gladwell
What?
in that podcast talks about how our memories like will deceive us. And over time, we kind of like create a story that isn't the true story.
Ooh,
And
that's very interesting.
over time you tell the same story and it changes over time, and then all of a sudden it's a completely different memory than what you had. So you truly remember something that way.
And it wasn't even real.
It never happened that way. It didn't happen that way, or it didn't happen that the details are different. So
That's
then
crazy.
I don't want to give away the whole podcast, but it's really interesting where he's basically saying Brian Williams wasn't lying. He just over time the story changed in his head, and then it became something more than it was, and that we
Yeah.
all have memories that aren't what we remember them to be.
Huh.
Free
I feel
Brian
like,
Williams.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Free Brian Williams. I think it's on the Revisionist History podcast. So
Revisionist history.
yeah,
I do find that interesting because I feel like even growing up, I can remember, like, in my head, actively saying, like, let's say, even to your parents, they're like, where did the last cookie go? And you're like, I don't know. Well, you ate it and you shouldn't have, but you're like, I'm not sure. And then
yeah,
they're like, well, did Jenna eat it? And I'm like, yeah, Jenna ate it.
yeah,
And then they're like, but she said that you were in here and you ate it. And I'm like, no. Well, as soon as you buckle down on your own truth of what you're trying to say, now let's be clear, lying is different than an accidental oopsie, I have thought this too long, I guess. But as a kid though, I do feel like as a kid we do that a lot. And then maybe as a grown adult, it's just like you grow into it, but in a more adult way.
but I wonder if you always took the cookie and said it was Jenna, that
Yeah.
after 15 years you would look back and be like, Jenna always took the cookie and blame me.
Our whole life.
Yeah, and that's your brain.
And that's what he's saying, right? That if you continually
I mean, Jenna wasn't a part of it, but
Jenna didn't do it.
Jenna was in
I,
the helicopter that got shot at. Brian
yeah,
Williams,
Brian Williams is my brother. Jenna was in the helicopter. Their identities were flipped.
right? So he took Jenna's story of
Yeah,
being in a war zone and getting shot at and made
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But
As he was holding the cookie.
as he had the cookie, you
Like,
didn't do anything. You weren't even in.
I actually am in the right here. I've never done anything.
You weren't even in Iraq. But it was like he probably heard the story from the people on that helicopter so many times. It's like you got
Yeah,
to keep that
yeah.
we're not on the news and have to not lie about everything.
Hmm.
So,
No, that's really interesting. So then the well, no, you mentioned three things, I think, two podcasts and a book. So what were they all?
well, the podcast series is called Revisionist History. It's been out for a long time.
Okay.
Malcolm Gladwell, and he did an episode called Free Brian Williams, which Chelsea put on her
Yes.
blog. But then he's written a lot of books. He wrote David and Goliath, and he wrote
Uh-huh.
um, others. There's
Other books.
he's written what was the other one that was
So what kind of books do you feel like are like that you like to read? What are books that you actually enjoy reading? The genre. And I love people to recommend some books once we say what kind of books we like. I love people to recommend a book in the comments on Instagram.
I did I do like comedians, so I will read their books.
Yeah.
So I started Born Standing Up, which is Steve Martin's book, which is good. Comedy drama is Bob Odenkirk's, and that's
Uh,
about his time at SNL and his writing skits for different people, but then also he did drama later with like Better Call Saul and all that.
okay.
But I really like
Um,
I read Trevor Noah's book last
oh
year,
my gosh. I
and that's
read that too. That
uh,
was really good.
Born Illegal or something like that.
I feel like he is probably, I feel like the way that Trevor Noah's brain like works and goes from comedy to like
Born a
just the way that, huh?
Born a Crime. Sorry.
Okay. Oh yeah, no. I feel like the the way that Trevor Noah phrases things and the way that he connects the dots for people comedically, but then getting into something serious is the most like the best way I've ever seen it done. Where like you're laughing and you're involved, and then next thing you know, he's like, and so, and then he'll say like this super serious thing, um, in a way that I've never heard a comedian do before. I just feel like he's a genius.
Yeah. I think there's an
I,
art, just an art to teaching in general, where it's like if you can kind of like hook someone with something they can relate to, then you can
mhm.
link it to something else and have it resonate. I mean, we learn this all the time, but
Yeah, yeah. No, that's right.
have it resonate through illustrations. What a concept.
Right, right. No, that's true. That's true. But
Yeah.
it's funny because I was listening to one of his podcasts that he did that was about oh my gosh, what is her name? She's the female rapper who also plays the flute, and she made a comment. My brain is just going blank. All right,
Feet,
hold on, hold on.
flute.
Just 5 seconds. Lizzo.
Lizzo was a frequent conversation topic in Florida. So
Really?
yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll put that in the show notes. Trevor Noah was talking about Lizzo and how Lizzo had said, I hope I'm not, I don't, I feel like I'm not messing this up, but if I am, I apologize. Trevor Noah was addressing the fact that Lizzo used a phrase in one of her songs
Yeah.
that in her, I think this is how it was. This was like 2 years ago that I listened to this, but I listened to it like so many times. Um, and he was basically saying that Lizzo used a phrase that from her culture meant this, but that and now in 2022 it would have been, and people being like super sensy and like everybody's like woke about all these different words and don't use that word, and that's a word for this in our culture. So it's not even a word in her culture. It's not even a word in our culture. It was like a separate thing, right? So, but these people, what I don't remember what I don't remember who it was, but and I wouldn't say on here anyways, probably because I'll get canceled.
I know the
But
word. The I know
you
it all.
do,
Yeah,
you know it all, but we won't say it.
I want to.
You do? We won't. Yeah, but the point is that the way that Trevor Noah talked about it was so genius because he's like, did you guys see this? Like, this song came out and this was the word. And then people were mad about it. And immediately Lizzo was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know that that was that word because in my culture or the way we think about it in this context, that's not what it means. And then I went and I listened to it and it was absolutely that way. But like his point was basically like people have completely forgotten about the word context and that context can change what something means. And they've also lost the idea that people cannot know something. And when they find out, if they apologize, they're learning and can move on. So
Beyonce
then,
said the same word the year before and then took it out.
oh, really? Beyonce did this too? Oh my goodness. People are going to be Googling this. Oh my word. This is going to start a frenzy.
But yeah, I think we're getting shifting into like
Yeah,
social thing,
we're shifting into social economics at this point.
but it is uh yeah, it's a tricky thing. It's a weird world.
It's
Like
tricky,
so what the
tricky,
non's
tricky.
about. It's tricky.
It's tricky,
Yeah.
tricky, tricky, tricky. I don't know if social economics is the right word to use there a second ago.
Social studies. No.
Social studies,
Social
social psychos,
norms. Social norms?
social norms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things are changing. But do you feel like things are changing from like a public standpoint on like Twitter and stuff, but not actually like day
Mm.
to day in your life?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely can. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can look at things, I feel like in like a kind of like hands-off type way and
Yeah.
see that everyone is at a point in the world where the sensitivities of people are like 0 to 100. They're like out of that. They're just blown way out of proportion. Like as an example, my dad has he wrote a poem about when everything got really really big and racism was so bad and it was like the Black Lives Matter movement. My dad wrote a poem about it and he recites it. It's not short. He like recites this poem to anybody that will listen. So like we're at Rehoboth and he's going up to people and he's reciting this poem. So when he goes up to people, obviously like I keep telling him, I'm like, just be careful because I know where you're coming from and I know that it's in a good place, but I would never want you to offend someone in this day and age and them get mad and like, you've offended them. Yeah,
Dad
pretty
get
much. And it's sad to say that because I know where it's coming from. It's coming from a place where he wants people to understand that like our family is so not that way.
yeah.
But in this society, it's sad to think that if someone were to say that, they would still find a reason to get offended, I guess is my point.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. But he
Yeah.
recited it to like 15 people while we were on vacation. Like it was crazy. And
Like
we all know when it's coming. Like he just starts looking at someone and like walks away. And we're like, oh my God, here we go. And we just hope that they understand.
yeah.
Huh?
I'm imagining you guys at like the Dogfish Head
Oh my God.
restaurant, and then
Just,
he gets up on stage, and they're like, it's like
yes.
slam poetry night, and your dad goes up.
And dad's like, no beers in, but people think he is, but he's actually not because he doesn't drink ever.
Yeah,
Oh, but anyways, okay, but back to books.
books.
Okay, so you're
One of
saying you like
Crime.
those books. Uh-huh, go on.
I really like The Sun Also Rises by
Oh
uh,
yeah.
Ernest Hemingway, And
What about the Pride and Prejudice genre? Darren's obsessed. He's read all of them.
really?
Oh yeah. Darren will get so into like those type, all of that genre of movies, books, all of it. And it's so not what he looks like as a guy, but he like loves them. There was a whole time frame in our marriage where he was in the bathtub like every night in like soap bubbles, reading Pride and Prejudice for like weeks,
Drinking wine.
drinking wine. And then he would like yell out to me. He would be like, that girl doesn't know what she's missing about him. What? If you can imagine, like Darren, like he's literally fixing a Kubota, like changing the oil, and like has Pride and Prejudice like in his ears.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like very random.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some other books. What do you have? What are yours?
So I just started reading Crying in H Mart, which I really like, and it's also making me very hungry. I love all that like I'm not into it super far. I'm not into it super far, but I really like it so far. And a lot of my friends have recommended it. And then again, the beach books, like the vacation, the like people going on the beach, like it's very, I think it gets people in like a very nostalgic type mood when they're like going to the beach and they're reading about other people's vacations.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that we were on vacation with were reading about people's vacations, which was kind of interesting.
Oh, good.
They're like, "Oh, I want a summer book. I want a summer book," which the New York Times has a list. So,
Do you like I feel like on a trip I want to read like a Grisham, like a dumb kind of like a
oh my gosh, you and my mom. My mom loves every John Grisham book ever. She has them at the beach every time.
I just read one. It was in this year and it was just not very good. It was so
Are
like
they going downhill?
they must be because it was new. Something juror. I forget what it was called. But it was
Oh
just
my
like or
goodness.
the judge's list. It was just dumb.
Judges list. Okay.
Don't read the judge's list.
Okay. This year was the first year my mom didn't read John Grisham, and she read a book that was about an explorer with his friend, and it was a comedy. And every time it was a funny part, she would read it out loud. She's one of those people. She would be
Oh,
like, ha ha ha, there was a bear in my book, and you know,
yeah.
but it was cute. So a book I want to read that I got that I haven't started yet, that I got in New York when I was visiting Milas at a bookstore that was like secondhand books, is A Life in Letters by Anton Chekhov.
Hmm.
And I heard that it's really, really, really good, but I cannot seem to get into it so far. I can't, it's like very overwhelming to me. If anyone's read this, then please help me understand what the point of this is.
Who is he?
Yeah, it's basically says from his teenage years in provincial Russia to his premature death, Anton wrote thousands of letters to a wide range of correspondents. And this fascinating new selection tells his story as a man and a writer through affectionate bulletins to his family. I mean, I've heard that it's like a really incredible book, and I just can't seem to get into it. I'm just like, this is so overwhelming. Just all, this is going to sound stupid. All the words, so many words.
Is he Russian? You said?
He's Russian.
Maybe it's like a winter book, like a cold winter.
Ooh, you know
If it was
what? You're
a
right.
day
You're
and
right. I think this is a winter book.
it like resonate with you in the winter.
How do you feel about people listening to audiobooks versus reading them?
I don't care. I do like when the um I do like when the author reads the book.
Ooh, yeah. I think if I'm going to buy an audiobook, it needs to be for a reason to like pass time where I cannot read. And the voice has to be spot on.
We tried to listen to Late Night Wars, which is
Uh,
like all about the whole thing with like Jay Leno and David Letterman, and then when Conan,
mm,
but it's like a really long book. And there was parts where he would like do a background on Jay Leno or David Letterman or Jimmy Fallon, and it was like interesting. But the minutia of like the day in day out thing got so bad, but the guy's
Yeah.
voice was so uh like monotone.
Oh,
Like at the same time, we both and we like we listened to like audio book of like Mindy Kaling, and it was like 4 hours.
yeah.
Yeah, this book was like 15 hours, and we got like probably like 6 or 7 hours in, and then we both just at the same time were just like,
I
oh my,
can't do this.
not do this anymore. It was like
Yeah.
so grueling. It was just like a grind to listen.
You're literally on a vacation. That sounds like you're like on a vacation with somebody who just like you and Chelsea are like, just pack our stuff.
Yeah,
We got to go.
I always
We
think,
can't.
yeah, I was like a Dumb and Dumber when she's like, and you know what he said to me? And he's like, no, and I don't care.
And I don't care. Bartender.
That's what it got to be.
Oh my God. She literally grabs his arm. And do you know what he said to me? Do you know what he said to me? You're not going to believe what he said to me. He's like, and I don't care. Screams it. Oh my God.
You know what?
So
He comes
funny.
home drunk, and you know what he does? Tries to fix the dishwasher. Oh man. I think like that's my favorite comedy. It's like the throwaway like conversations where it's
Oh
not like
yeah.
a, a deliberate joke. It's like a background conversation that just gets spoken.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you were talking. I wanted to ask you something. I can't remember what it was now. Shoot. You were talking about books and listening to books, and
Yeah.
now you were on a road trip and it was grinding.
Oh, it was the drive from Seattle to New York when we moved to New York.
Okay.
It was,
Why was the book so long? Why fifth like
I don't know. I think you get a certain type of person that wants to give you everything, and it's like, um, they just get too deep. They get too
yeah,
deep into the story, and then I think they inflate or conflate what's actually like pertinent to the story.
yeah,
Because to me, like because of liking that type of stuff, I was like, oh man, 15 hours of just talking about
yeah.
comedy,
Like this
like
is gonna be great.
great. And then I was like, I don't care about a lot of this.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that I love Joan Didion like as a writer, but when I and this is what's weird is that I also hate how she writes at the same time. Like I love her stories, like how she's very like emotional and like talking about her life and the way that her brain works, but the way that she actually like says these details
Mm,
was is like mind numbing.
yeah.
But I watched her documentary on, I think it's on Netflix, and it was like one of the most beautiful. I love it. If anybody likes that kind of stuff, the Joan Didion documentary, I can't remember the name of it now, but um, it was so good. I watched it like 3 times within a very short succession, and I love it. And it explained kind of to me the reason why she does that and the reason why she says all the details is because it's helping her brain process what's happening. Because
Yeah.
she's writing about things that are going on in her life, some of that are very traumatic.
Yeah.
And because of her needing to do it a certain way, she's writing down the details, right? So it's like, we stopped at the red light, we pushed the button, we crossed the street, we went to the hospital, we pushed the button to floor number 3, the elevator was slow. And you're like, oh my gosh, just get to the point. But then when I watched the documentary, it explained like, or I felt like it made me feel like I understood why she needed why she felt the need to write down all the details,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
No, it does. I think too, a lot of times with books where I think with even like a book like that, the things that
Yeah.
stand out is like one sentence or two sentences. And so
Yeah.
when I hear people who are really into books or really read, they'll like they'll say like so and so said this, and it's only two sentences out of a full book. So you appreciate
Yeah.
the whole book, but you're really taking those little nuggets
Hmm.
from it, or just it's usually like someone writing so much that they eventually are going to say something that is something you feel that you don't know how to say.
Right. And they're like articulating it in a way that you maybe felt it before but couldn't articulate it, but they're doing it. I want you to watch that documentary, you and Chelsea, and tell me what you think.
All right.
I feel
I,
like it would be interesting to
I,
hear you guys' thoughts.
yeah.
Do you like documentaries over movies or no?
I think we're going through phases. I
Yeah.
probably like a movie more than a documentary, but I do like documentaries a lot.
Yeah.
But I think the problem with documentaries is they zero in on a topic and um it's always these interviews with people who it'll be like about it. If it's like about an athlete, it's like he was like God. And you're like, it's just like a bunch of people talking up this person and making it
Yeah.
than it was. Like, or if it's about a musician or something, it's like when they talk about at their height, they always make him like larger than life when it's
Yeah,
like,
like the most superior being of ever in that.
and it's just like they could be like, yeah, he sold a lot of albums. He was really good.
Yeah. Like I still always get a kick, not a kick, but I mean like any interview with like Courtney Love, it's like her, it's
Insufferable.
just yeah. I'm just like I don't understand this. Like it was a huge tragedy what happened. You're insane. You still don't care. I feel like I don't know, she's actually one of my most hated people. I won't get into it on the pod.
She's yeah.
I do not like I've never even when I was a teenager, like I wasn't even into Nirvana that much at the time, it was like I was still listening to like Cabbage Patch Kids. And then like suddenly went from like Cabbage Patch Kids to like Nirvana and then Kurt Cobain dies and I'm like, "Oh, the only person left that could talk about Kurt Cobain is Courtney Love. I want to listen to everything she has to say." And then it was like, "Whoa, you're actually awful."
Awful. I love that. Sometimes I listen to Mark Maron and he interviews people, his podcast, and he had Courtney Love on, and before he got to the interview, he was like, "Just so you know, I'm just interviewing people. Like, it doesn't mean I'm friends with them, or
Doesn't
that
mean I like them.
I like them." He goes, "Sometimes I don't even get to talk much, like this," and he just started the interview, and it's just her
Blabbing.
blabbing and blabbing, and it was like so obnoxious. I got like 5 minutes into it, and I'm like, I don't.
I just don't even care. I feel like even like him dying, she didn't even care. It was like when he died, she just was like, okay, I'll use this to stay famous.
She just seems like a narcissist, made it all about
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
One day I was, this is probably like 10 years ago. I was driving to look at a job in Seattle when we
Yeah.
still, and I like came down this hill, and I passed his house, Kurt Cobain's house. It's right next to this park.
Uh-huh.
And I was like looking at the house, and it's like you remember it so iconically from like the news after he died.
Yeah.
And I was just like looking at the house, and I was thinking about like that era and that time. And I get down to the bottom of the hill on like I think it was called Westlake. I forget. Get down to the bottom of the hill, and I turn a left. And as I turn left, and I'm thinking about like Kurt Cobain and his house, I see the guitarist of Pearl Jam walking his dog. And
Stop.
it was just like a weird. It was like a
Are
weird
you serious?
30 seconds because
That's
like,
crazy.
I live down there still, so it was just funny to like be thinking about the 90s
Wow.
and that music, and then there's Mike McCready like walking his dog on the beach.
That's crazy.
I
I feel
felt
like you and Darren and Devin also have this weird ability to recognize the most random of celebrity type, musician type. Like I could drive by someone, I could literally probably drive by Pamela Anderson and like not even think it was her. But there's a certain, but then there's other celebrities that like I definitely would know who they are. And I'm sorry, but I am one of those people. I want to see celebrities. Like I think it's fun. I
did I
don't
tell you,
care about them, but
did you know we
what?
saw Pamela Anderson?
You saw Pamela Anderson for real?
Yeah, we were
When?
in Cayman in February. We were walking on the beach, we would every morning we'd get up and walk on the beach. And as we were walking back, we were almost back to where we were staying. And there's like a nice, a really nice hotel on the beach, like two buildings down. And it was like 6:30 in the morning, and we're just walking and talking. And there's a lady like sitting in like one of these couches overlooking the beach with another person. And
What?
I was like, Chelsea, do you know who that is? And she's like, no. And then I didn't want it to like be obvious that we
Yeah,
saw it,
yeah, yeah.
walk past. And I was like, that was Pamela Anderson. She's like,
Shut up.
yeah. And then just to make sure, like we went on her Instagram and she posted that she was on the beach right there. So we were like, and then she posted like in her video, you see where we were staying, like our balcony.
No. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so nuts.
We like know her now.
Oh, I mean, you're going to the Hamptons soon,
Yeah. Yeah.
very soon.
Yeah.
One of the celebrities I'll never forget seeing, no one is going to know who this is, was back in the day when I was getting like starting to get into like Vogue magazine, right? Like you're like a teenage girl, but you're also like going like later on. Was Agnes Dean. She was a supermodel at the time. She had like this crazy blonde hair that was like kind of spiky. And we were in New York City in this like thrifty area, and we were looking through books, and I like turned to like get my book, and she was right there, and she was also getting a book, and we both were like, oh, sorry, da da da. And she was like way taller than me, and just like the tiniest person, obviously, because she was like a runway supermodel.
Yeah.
And I remember that I had seen her so many times in magazines, and I just immediately knew who it was. And I still remember it. Like to me, that was still like one of the coolest like people that I've seen that I like had recognized in something. Um, what are other the Key and Peele guy? I saw him. I took a picture with him.
Which one? The Keenan or the one that's not on Saturday Night Live?
I can't tell them. I can't ever know which one is which.
The big one or the littler one?
The tall one,
Okay.
taller, the taller one.
I met the bassist for Nirvana,
Oh,
uh,
really?
15 at a concert, and he like talked to me for a long time. He was really nice.
Really?
Had like a
That's
really
cool.
good interaction, like first like famous person I met, and it was only like 2 or 3 years after Kurt Cobain died.
Whoa.
And he was really nice, and just it was like a rap show, so everyone there
Uh-huh.
didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
So we just stood there and talked. He was friends with the band that people were like waiting to meet.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness.
and I was just talking to him for a while. He was really cool.
So that's random story. Yesterday, a friend of mine texted me and said that she was at work and that she works at this like wellness spa for like football players, like celebrities in Baltimore. I mean, other people go there too, but like one of the guys from the Ravens was there and 50 Cent was there
Oh,
yesterday. Literally. She's like, I brought him in to start his spa treatment.
wow.
I know. I was like, well, how was it? Was like, where was the candy? Like, how was the vibe? And she just was like dying. Like, we were dying. Like, I was like, can you record him? She like, anything, any proof. She was like, no, I can't do it. But it's so funny. Like, you want to act like you don't care, but I mean, I don't. I do care. I love it if people are like, oh, our friend of ours saw Post Malone, like, waited for 13 hours to meet him in Maryland a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
and met him, took a picture with him. They did a prom pose together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. His wife slept in the car for literally like 6 hours while he stood in line. And then all they did was take a picture, but they said he was so nice.
Oh, that's cool.
He probably was also up for 48 hours.
Yeah, he's probably on the end
He's
of a.
probably not, yeah. I was like, oh, cool. How was he awake?
Oh, I wanted
Okay.
to. I so we were in Maine, and I
Yeah.
wanted to get Carrie to tell her stories.
Yes.
Two
Yes.
that she told us about a long time, or in Florida, that I thought were so funny. Um, so just like I just decided to record them with her and Jason. just so
Okay.
I wanted you to hear them and see what you think.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
So really quick, one thing I hate is when you go on
Yes.
Instagram, it's probably a TikTok thing, but when there's a video that's kind of funny or interesting, but then the person imposes their face into it,
Over it? Yeah.
their reaction, and they'll do like this. I hate that.
Okay. So
Can't
we're
tell you.
turning our videos off.
No, you keep yours on because I want to see your reaction.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't want to be in it because
Okay. Ready.
I'm in the video. I don't need to
Oh,
be.
you're in the video. Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't be interviewing her, so I don't want to be.
Okay. Okay. We're ready. We're ready.
So I'm gonna share this with you,
Okay.
and then
I've been waiting for this.
it's a good story. And then there was another one too that she said that I thought was really funny too.
Should I mute myself?
Uh, can you see, what do you see on the
Yeah,
screen?
I can just see the play button and
All right.
you are viewing.
All right. Can you hear it?
I don't know yet.
We're live.
We're live.
Yeah.
You're here
Yeah.
today, Jason and Kerri. Say hi, Jason. Melissa's not here, but we're gonna get her reaction to him.
Yeah, do it later.
But let's start.
Which would you like first?
Let's get the duck story
Okay.
first.
Duck story.
Let's try to talk to this
Oh,
a little bit.
Microphone.
Just like a
It's
bit.
my first time, guys. And Chelsea can edit and make me sound good with everything. Okay, good. So I had some ducks. I love animals. And one of the ducks was a baby. He was a little fluffy guy. And I put him in the bathtub to do a little swim. And he was just swimming around. It was cute. So I went downstairs onto the back deck. And then Jay came downstairs and he said, Kerri, yeah, bad news. I could tell by his face. He's like, the little duckling had drowned. I
What?
didn't realize that until they get their feathers, they can't swim very long by themselves. So yes, I did that.
Let's see the story.
You drowned it? You drowned the duck.
Baby duck. Yeah, so I was,
Oh my
baby duck's
God.
adorable. I love ducks. I was emotional about it. I just started hysterically crying and screaming. I was just like, I killed him, I killed him, I killed him. And then he's like, I'm gonna go to the duck guy. We got a duck guy down the road. He's got ducklings. I gotta go get you a new duckling. So he left. I'm just myself crying, holding like a big mama duck, petting it with like these giant flannel and look like a emotional case. So then I see 5 sheriff's cars pull up in front of our driveway. We live on this little like back road, like out there. And I was just like, whoa, what is going on? And then they all popped open the trunks and I'm just still petting my duck. And they popped open the trunk, pulled out like assault rifles. I was like, whoa, like something's going down. So then they all walked into my driveway with their vests on and assault rifles.
What?
Excuse me, ma'am, where's your husband? And I said, he's not here, And they were, because he went to get me a duck. And they're like, we heard, the neighbor overheard somebody screaming, I killed like, oh, well, I did. I killed the duckling. And I got a little emotional again because I killed the duckling.
Oh my God.
See his little boy. They're like, because I could tell they were not believing me that my husband wasn't there. The whole duck story is not a common one. But so I had to show them. I was like, his little body's over there. I don't know. And they went and picked him up. And then I could tell from there on out, they were just trying not to laugh at me. They were trying to be respectful. But definitely we're just like, oh, we got a crazy one here. So
you
Oh my God.
lost your duck.
I did.
You screamed, I
May he
killed him,
rest in
I killed
peace.
him.
I killed him. I killed him.
Goes to get your new duck, and the neighbor thinks you killed Jason, and
Yes.
so the SWAT team arrives.
Yes.
I
And
Thought
then,
it was my husband.
Jason-
love it.
Yes.
well, I'm down the road at the duck people's house.
The duck guy.
The duck guy's house, because I got a duck guy.
The duck guy.
So like while I'm there, his neighbor is a sheriff, and we just watch him run out of the house, like tripping, arms full of stuff, like emergency situation. And my neighbor's like, oh yeah, like something serious is going down. He's like, Stadies have been going by, sheriff's been going by. He's like, I don't know if something's going on at the school or what. And I'm wow, like, this is nuts. I'm just gonna
No, because it's a duck.
Then we found out where they were going.
Yeah, you said you were driving. I get home and I pull up and I just see in front of our house just a row of state police, sheriffs.
Oh my God.
SWAT, like they've got full armor, helmets, assault rifles, but they're all just kind of like, when I pull up, they're just like chilling and hanging out. And
oh my
I
God.
didn't even know what to think. I was like, did somebody escape from like a prison or
Yeah.
And so I started walking up the driveway and I was just laughing.
With the baby duck.
I did have a couple baby ducks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then they pieced together.
Yeah. And I was just like, sorry guys.
So not a lot happens in Waterboro, Maine. That was a big moment for those guys. And you have 5 acres of land if you live in Maine, so I was probably a little loud with my morning process. I apologize to the neighbor. He didn't really see the
Oh my God.
So I just love that you screamed, I killed him. Police were brought out and then they find a baby duck in the bathroom. No, it wasn't the bathroom.
No, Jay had removed it and set it outside. Yeah, by the shed. He buried him later. Very respectable.
Love story.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's my duck story.
It's the duck story. And then we've all had complicated stories with our
Family relationships.
And you had one with your grandma.
Yeah, so my grandmother was a little bit of, like that kind of grumpy grandma. And she was dying. I still got one last little jab in because we went to visit her. She was laying in her bed. She was, completely incoherent. We were just like talking at her, and she was just like mumbly. So we, after a while, we said our goodbyes and we're leaving the hospital room. And she just like clear as day yelled out, "Kerri, wait." So in this moment, I'm feeling pretty good about myself because I'm thinking she didn't want anyone else. She wanted me. Sorry, guys. Here we go. That's for me.
Yeah. You didn't always have a very good.
Oh, yeah. Not like super tight. She was always kind of a little grumpy and moody.
And you felt like maybe she was going to kind of like fix it. Or like
like I'm sorry, Kerri, for the way I treated you.
Yeah, I really had my hopes up for her calling out to me.
So she's on her deathbed. She's dying.
Yeah.
One last bit out.
Yeah. She calls for me. She called for me. And so I say, "Yes, Grandma," as I approach her bedside, and she looks at me and says, "Have you gained weight?" And that was it. She went back. Oh, as one does when they're dying. Yep, next day she died. That was it. Goodbye, Kerri.
So one last thing.
No.
Advice. Yeah, she got me.
Well, that's
Yes. I was like, "Thank you, Grandma, very much. That was rude. I think I should." Grandma.
That was rude.
I think her eyesight was going. I like to think.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was just like I like to figure like a blurry blob she saw, and maybe. Oh,
Blurry blob.
the best I got. 2 good stories.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. The grandma one is almost better to me than the duck, and the duck was like high on the list.
I The grandma one's so
The,
fun.
the duck one is wild.
I know.
But her saying that her grandma was like, Kerri. And she goes, yes, grandma. I could not. That is so.
Oh man. So
I
fun.
love Kerri. She's a great storyteller.
Oh, they're great. And it
And
was
she's like,
fun.
not much happens in this little town. And
Yeah.
there's like cops bombarding their home.
Finally thought they had them. They were like on their way thinking about the 2020 or the Dateline episode
Yeah.
that they're going to be on. And they just show up to Carrie with a dead duck, with a duckling.
I killed him. I killed him. Oh my God. That was actually so sad.
I know.
The little duck dying was actually really sad. Her husband being like, sorry, guys. Oh my gosh. But picturing Kerri turning around as like however old she was, I pictured like an 11-year-old that's just like, my moment's finally here. Grandma. Like her grandma's gonna be like, I left you 50 thou in the under the carpet downstairs. And she's like, have you got fat? Oh my word.
Well, I
Okay,
think,
well, I love them.
yeah, they're amazing.
I want to meet them.
Yeah, we'll have to do we should go to Maine. Maine's pretty sweet.
I would love to go to Maine, actually. I've never been there. My mom loves it there because her grandma was from there. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, her grandma and Carrie's grandma were the same. Just kidding.
Maybe they,
Just kidding.
well, maybe
But that would be cool.
yeah. All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Okay.
You're gonna scrape the barrel here with your songs.
Oh my gosh. You haven't given me enough time, like in, weeks on end. On weeks on end. Okay. Let's do Friday by Freak Slug.
Okay.
And let's do My Own Worst Enemy by Lit.
Okay.
And let's do Once More by David, but the A in David is the number 4. Stupid, but
All
it
right.
looks like this.
Oh, okay.
You
I'm gonna do.
always make me go first, by the way.
What's that?
You always make me go first. Next time you go first.
All right. I'm gonna do Raid by Doom Regulator. I'm gonna do Jane by Jefferson Starship. And then you ready for this one?
Yep.
Let Her Cry by Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh my God.
You can't deny that song.
Hey, that's a good song.
Great song.
That's almost as good as Mary Chapman.
Oh, the Drive song? Or no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same kind of vibe.
Yeah. All right, I'm done. I'm so done.
Yeah,
Wait.
I'm over this. I actually have to go clean the litter box.
My napkins are dry, so I need to go re-wet them.
I have some broken glass that my little pinky toe is crying for.
Okay, great.
Good. Okay. Yeah. See ya.